Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this webinar on practical functional testing, where I'm going to give you an overview of our workshop course. So I'd just like to say welcome, thank you for squeezing into your lunch time. So the plan to do here, we've got a 30-minute webinar, so I'm going to talk to you for around 20 minutes about the practical functional testing workshop, and then I'll open things up for discussion and questions towards the end. So if you could keep your microphones muted for the time being, and then I'm happy to take questions later on. So I'm John Young. I'm a principal trainer at TSG. It quite scares me when I look at this and see 30 years experience and 20 years of talking and coaching and mentoring people in picking up the skills, picking up the knowledge that helps us in software testing and quality. So let me just talk to you about the agenda for today. So I'm going to talk to you about who we've aimed this course workshop at, the target audience, and then I'll talk you through the basic structure of the two-day course. And I'll talk to you in a bit more detail about some of the things we're going to do in helping people understand test analysis and the difference between test analysis from a system testing point of view and a UAT point of view. So we're going to be giving people practical experience on feature-oriented testing as well as business process testing. And then I'll talk to you about some of the things we'll be doing in the execution and logging. Amongst the things we're keen to import across to people is the importance of humans in observing things, but also the importance in it's no good observing it if you don't make a note of it and what you see. And no practical testing is complete without some defect reporting. I'm quite sure if you've done any testing, we usually get very suspicious if we don't find any defects as a result of testing some software. So I'll talk to you about all these areas. I'll try not to overrun too much and try not to get carried away. I do a lot of virtual training, so I've got to also just withhold my instinct to ask you to ask me questions until the end. So there's going to be space at the end for I'll summarize what we've talked about and give the opportunity to answer any questions you've got. So I just want to double check. Can you one thing? Can you all hear me? Okay. I just want to check I'm not talking. You're not talking to a vacuum, and you're all wondering what's going on. So if somebody wants to just open the mics and say hello, can you all hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay.
Yes,
Okay,
I can
great.
hear you. Okay.
That's great. Thanks. I don't know if you've ever done this kind of thing, but there's nothing worse than talking to silence. I've done it in a classroom before. Now you're terrified that everyone's going to sleep on you. So thanks for that. So who have we aimed this course at? Well, this has come about from a lot of work we've done in training and in consultancy over the years. So we're aiming this workshop. I call it workshop, I call it course. It's not a workshop in the sense that it's completely free flow, but the intention here is to give people practical experience. So a lot of people who are new to testing may not be new to IT, but they may be new to testing. A lot of people are looking at testing as career changers. And a lot of the training that's available, the training we do, is tied around giving people a good set of theoretical concepts. But the aim of this workshop is something I've been wanting to do for quite some time. We've often done it on client site consultancy work and on bespoke workshops for customers, but it's to give the general population the opportunity, if you've not had any testing, to give you some practical experience. So what we're aiming to do is to give people who've not done much in the way of testing an opportunity to pick up those key skills that once you've had exposure, once you've done some testing more than once, you start to build up a skill set. And we tend to take those skills for granted. So if I just noticed you talk about connections bad, that could be your internet connection. Another option you've got if you find the audio is intermittent is to try dialing in. So if you switch from computer audio to dial in, then you usually find that's a more consistent audio feed if you've got internet problems. So we're aiming this course at people who've got not much in the way of experience. And the whole idea in this session is rather than giving everybody the pure textbook theory. We're going to give them tasks to complete, and those tasks are the typical activities that people will do in functional testing. Now, what I've found in practice is a lot of people are given the work backwards. So a lot of novice testers are given some scripts to run and say, go and run this, go and test this, see what you think, which is great after the event. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. But what we're doing here is we're just going to give them some experience of what the thought process around designing a test is first before running it. So the aim in practical, as in all of life, is to give you a task to do, to try things out, because I've certainly found I've learned far more from getting things wrong or getting things not perfect than from getting things right first time. So the whole idea of a practical workshop is to give people tasks to do, try things out, get feedback, try things out again, improve. So that's what we're aiming to do. So the structure of the course, we've got 2 days. So what we're going to do is we're organizing the first day primarily around the kind of functional testing we do at system test level, and then we're organizing the second day about the way we go about doing functional testing from an acceptance testing point of view. So what we're going to do on day one is we've got to give people, particularly if they've got zero experience, a little bit of system test overview, but we're not trying to overload the theory here, but we need to give people some context. But then we're going to get them into doing some practical exercises around analyzing some functional specifications, feature descriptions, getting to understand what the requirements and the functional descriptions are implying, and then starting to turn those into test cases. We're also going to give them the experience of executing scripts and logging results so that they can see the difference between writing an instruction and actually putting an instruction in a script into practice. And also we're going to give them practice in logging results and making observations. And I'd be amazed if people didn't find things that are worth defect reporting. So the whole idea is we're taking them through the basic activities of a system test analyst, from looking at requirements, understanding what the basic ideas to test are, design those test cases, put them into scripts, and then executing some scripts, raising defects along the way. Now on day 2, it's a similar pattern of activity, but we're going to give people some oversight of the difference between system test and UAT, and then we're going to give them some different test bases. So they're going to get some business process descriptions, some user stories, acceptance criteria, and then again, the whole idea is to take people through the activity of extracting the key information from the story acceptance criteria, organize those around the business processes, creating some cases, and then putting those cases into scripts and executing those scripts, and again, logging results. But they're going to get the difference of the feel of the instruction in a UAT script is usually more flexible, more fluid. So people are going to be seeing the difference in the detail that they have in the instructions and the kind of decisions they'll be making during execution. We want people to get not just the idea of functional testing from a scripted perspective, but the much more commonly used now exploratory testing approaches. So we're going to do that as part of day 2 and give people some charter ideas. And again, it's usually better to have done some scripted testing first before you do your first exploratory testing if you're a novice, because it gives you an idea of a systematic way of thinking. So in terms of the test analysis, when we're looking at the feature testing, we're going to give them those feature descriptions, but we're also going to give those in the context of some user stories. And when we say we're asking them to design test cases that exercise features, we're going to do this in a way of a demonstration first, then some practice, and then some more practice. So they're going to be getting the sense of identifying test cases. So we're going to get them identifying inputs, identifying expected results, understanding the basic structure of generic test cases. Then we'll help them see how we can organize those together into test scripts. And there's going to be examples that we provide for them, but there's also going to be the opportunity for them to share some of their scripts with each other. We're doing this as a virtual lesson, But we're going to have and one of the nice things we can do with GoToMeeting is we can give people the opportunity to share screens, and also we can pass assets backwards and forwards by email. Now, I just thought I'd give you a quick taster of the kind of thing we're talking about here. So I've just got a whiteboard that I've kind of pre-built. I'm just giving you an illustration of when we're talking about giving people practice on test analysis and design. And now I'm waiting for Microsoft's products to actually do something in real time, which is always scary. So you know what they say, never go on the stage with children or animals, or never demonstrate real software, or try to get a software product to do something. You've got people looking at you. So apologies about this. This is just a mock-up of a typical, I'm just trying to zoom this out a little bit. So what we'll be doing in the analysis design is giving people feature descriptions, and this is a typical kind of feature description. We've got a screen mock-up, we've got some narrative description. But what we're encouraging people to do is look at narrative requirements, and then start to associate some of the implicit requirements. So we're helping people to break textual requirements up into the fact that this is talking about new customers. We've got a description about field tabbing. So there's another thing we could test. For detailed validation rules, see data validation rules. So also we're going to give people experience that sometimes they're going to have to go look for more info. So we'll be giving them, as a set of documents, we'll be giving them some electronic documents with some of the feature descriptions and some details they're going to have to find elsewhere. So looking for more information, because that's typically the kind of thing we're having to do in test analysis. And deconstructing tasks. So we can see here, validate customer details functions. So that's tied to register. So originally this had the term, looks like drawings not re-rendered properly, but there was a intention, there was a register button here. So the idea is we're talking people through, but then giving them the chance to deconstruct a piece of feature information and then start to get an idea which of these are going to be the inputs, because that'll be the base of the test case, but then also where are the expected results. And the idea is they're going to be constructing test cases with inputs and expected results and matching them back to the feature descriptions. I just thought I'd give you a taster, so because at the moment, if I just show the PowerPoint slides, you can't see the way we're teaching. So the idea is they're going to get electronic documents, they can work their way through them, they can identify elements, we can have discussions, they can draft, we'll give them some templates, they can draft test case, and then we can organize those into scripts. Now we'll be doing a similar thing when it comes to user acceptance testing. The difference there is we'll be giving them user stories and acceptance criteria and some business process descriptions, including process flows. And the aim, again, is to deconstruct the acceptance criteria, but also to see the difference in UAT to system testing, that we're trying to then align the business process to the acceptance criteria. And the intention, again, is to give people the chance to try things out and to critique each other's test scripts, because it's only when you see somebody else's limitations that you often see the limitations in your own work. Now, when it comes to execution, we're going to give people pre-written test cases in organizing scripts from a system testing perspective and an acceptance testing perspective, so that we give them some that have been pre-written, but they also going to get the chance to execute their own scripts. And if people are willing to share their scripts, they can also try other people's scripts out. Again, the best way of picking up whether you've grasped an idea and put it into practice effectively is sometimes to just give it to somebody else and see how many of your instructions are clear or not. Now, I've given you some examples of feature descriptions, but what we're actually be working on is a copy of a website that we built with the defects within it. So there is going to be opportunities for them to raise defects. There will be things that they're going to observe that will be problematical, and On day 2, as well as doing scripted testing, we're also going to give them the opportunity to do some exploratory testing as well. So the trader is going to provide some test charters, but then let them off the leash a little bit to experiment and try ideas out. And again, what a lot of what we're doing with the execution is getting the experience of following instructions, but also logging what they've seen along the way. So they're going to be executing those test scripts. And the aim is for them to observe, and through getting feedback, looking at the logs they've made, and then asking them questions of each other, because if they're all executing the same scripts, follow the same instructions, it'd be interesting to see if their observations are different. So the whole intention here is around practical tasks. Do some analysis work, write some scripts, critique them, run some scripts, look at the actual results, look to see if the script instructions are clear enough. And also, we're going to make them, or ask them rather, to make a judgment call. So for each of the test case, do they think they pass or fail? So we're putting the situation, they've got to look at the evidence they've got to decide if that's correct or not. But also we're doing similar thing. Do you think the test cases pass or fail? Do you think the overall script passes or fails? Now, when it comes to the structure of scripts, everyone writes scripts differently. Every organization has a different flavor of way of structuring scripts. So, just to give you an example, and again, I'm hoping Microsoft's whiteboard will open quickly. The idea is, and this is just a generic basic script where we've got a number of steps, and we've got instructions, and we're just going to be helping here's the expected results. Now I know you'll probably, everyone, if you give people who've done testing a template script, everyone will find something to pick holes in because they won't like the structure. So we're giving them a basic structure where they've got input, expected results, but also what we're interested in is getting the skills in gathering evidence. So logging the results, also their observations. This is my terrible handwriting. So we're encouraging them to try writing objective evidence, write objective observations, and then make those judgment calls. Does it pass? Does it fail? And the idea is we're going to give them relatively small tasks to do so they can put things into practice, try them out, and then we give them another task to do, practice that, try it out. So the idea is we're not trying to replicate a complete test project where we do repetitive work. We're trying to keep people engaged by giving them tasks to do, get some feedback, and then try again. So to cumulatively and iteratively learn as they go. So that was just an example of a system test script. We'll also be giving them acceptance test scripts, and they're going to see the difference in the level of granularity, but also in the level of instruction. So we're expecting them to be able to pick test inputs when we do UAT tests, but also to be able to look back at those business processes and decide what to pick, what to observe, what judgment calls to make. And when it comes to defect reporting, it's another of those topics where if we give people a defect template, everyone's got a different one, everyone uses a different tool. So we're going to use a generic template, get them to complete it, and they can raise defects against the tests that fail, but we're going to give them some predefined criteria and ask them to make an initial judgment call about severity and priority for the evidence they've got. But we're also going to be reviewing what they've done in defects and asking them to look at each other's defects to say, do they think if you gave these defects to somebody else, a developer or an analyst, would they have enough information to be able to review the problem? And we're going to get them to collect objective evidence. So they're going to see the link between the execution logging and defect reporting. And I've just mocked up this morning, I thought, just to illustrate, we're not going to use any specific tool, but we're going to give them a generic template, something along the lines of this. Sorry, just get the zoom out. So we're going to ask them we're going to treat these like mandatory fields, and we're going to say you haven't finished raising your defect until you've included all this information. And then we're going to be looking at and asking them to look to make sure that what kind of, what's the quality of the description they've made here. So is it objective? Is it understandable? And could we reproduce it? Obviously, we don't mean write it the way I've written in my handwriting there. But also, we're going to get them sensitized to all the key essential information that we should be recording when we raise defect reports. As I mentioned, we're not going to use any specific defect reporting tool, but we're going to give them a template, and then the intention is that they're going to complete those and mail those back to the trader, and then we can screen share and discuss. Now, in a brief overview, I've got to be careful. I'd love to put more into this, but I'm aware it's your lunchtime, so I just wanted to give a high-level view of what we're trying to do in these practical workshops. So in summary, the whole intention is to give inexperienced people the opportunity to do the practical work. I know it's never going to be identical to everyone's context, but the intention here is give them a chance to do it when they're not under work pressure conditions. They can try things out. It's a safe place to make mistakes. It's a safe place to ask questions. We're deliberately going to give them the functional perspective from a system test and an acceptance test, so they understand the differences of levels of detail we work at. And I know a lot of people, when they're novice testers, tend to be given the execution tasks first, but give them some analysis experience and it will help them understand what the test scripts are trying to do. And we are going to give them a real product that we've seeded with defects. So it's going to be a case of they're going to take the work through to completion. And the whole intention of making this a workshop is they're going to get feedback as they're working. They can ask questions, they can interrupt. We can screen share so they can see ideal. They can get critique of what they're doing. We can have a conversation around it. Well, so we're deliberately keeping the classes limited to a maximum of 12 people, so we can have a dialogue and a conversation along the way. So it's in the time constraints we've got. That's an overview of the practical session. Have you got any questions? So if anybody wants to open the mics up, ask. I'm happy to answer, or if they'd rather do it through chat.
All right, John. This is like a prerequisite to foundation, is it?
It's not a prerequisite, but the intention here is foundation gives you a good grounding on the theory of the processes. But what we've noticed, particularly when people, if they've come into a career change and they take the foundation and they haven't done practical work, one of the limitations, you can't visualize what you're doing. So the intention with this is it's a supplement. So I wouldn't say it's a mandatory prerequisite, but it's going to make anybody who's new to testing, it's going to give them a much better idea of the processes that we're following. And the intention here is we are consistent with ISTQB without overextending the pure theory. We would rather get them the idea of the practical problem solving. Does that answer your question, Mark?
It does, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, fill some gaps before you bombard people with all that theory. Yeah. Thanks for that.
And Monica, you just said, is there a course you can sign up to? There is. So if you look at our website, you'll see dates. And if you talk to our sales team, they'll be able to give you more information. Sorry, it's not the thing I know off the top of my head. Rosie, one of the colleagues, have you got any details on that you can clarify for me?
Yeah, John, it's Bernard. Look, when we send out a recording and the slides with this, we'll also send out dates for the courses in the web page. That's the appropriate one to look at. Okay.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, Rosie, Bernard, it's just me and my brain. Anything else? Any other questions anyone's got?
I would just like to know if you do trainings in France as well.
We at the moment, due to physical limitations, we're doing all our courses through virtual, but we will train anywhere. For clients, we will usually train anywhere the clients are happy to organize a course. Bernard?
Yeah, that's correct. We can run private courses anywhere. We don't run public courses in France or anywhere else, but private ones and all public ones in the UK. Thanks.
Thanks for that.
Thanks.
Okay, well, if nobody else has got any questions, then I'm going to say thank you very much for taking some time out of your lunch. So the practical functional testing course, if you look on our website, you'll see the details. Now, other courses that are tied in to this stage of your career progression, we've also got as follow-up courses, the Introduction to Test Engineering. And in terms of formal qualification-based testing, we've also got the Certified Tester Foundation level that's managed by the ISTQB. Well, thank you very much. I hope this has been beneficial for you. As I mentioned there, so you can see we've got the any questions you've got, if you go to enquiries@tsgtraining.co.uk, or if you look on our website, www.tsg-training.co.uk, you'll see more details. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Anybody else got any other questions? Anything else I can help you with?
I think we're done, John.
I think we are. Well, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
You're very
Thank you.
welcome. Thanks.